Excuse me, sir, is this the Delta House?
Sure. Come on in.
They have cold beer and action on the game.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
It's time for the Degenerates Next Door.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Oh, baby. Got another big one in the Big Ten. Let's roll. My name is Jason Hammer. Rob Kendall sitting right across from me. And last week, Rob Kendall, winning weekend, 3-2, units ahead, winning record on the year. We'll take that.
That's right.
I, winning record last week, 3-1, 25, 22-1 on the year. We'll take that.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's like for all the times we beat ourselves up, right? Like I'm 1 over for the year in college football, which means if you'd have bet $1 million on every bet, you'd be $1 million ahead.
That's right.
I'm 8 units ahead on the NFL, which I know we have a whole show for that. So you put them together, you're 9 units ahead for the year. You would take being 9 units ahead for the entire year. That's we'll put that up against anybody. You're doing great on yours as well.
So let's get down to brass tacks here, my friend.
Yeah.
We've got Ohio State on the road to Penn State. Big one in the Big Ten. The Buckeyes, 3.5-point road favorites in Happy Valley, Rob. The over-under right around 47.5.
All right, so here we go with this, Hammer, and I know our pro is going to pick this after I do, David Stephanoff, so we'll see what he comes in with. 3 things I'm factoring into this. 1, it's at Penn State, which is usually a tough place to play. However, how many times have we heard about, it's a whiteout today, it's all over for fill in the blank, and then
Penn State lays an egg.
Yeah.
Big game James Franklin, can never beat the big teams.
That's right, but statistically, it's a tough place to play. 2, I actually think Penn State might have a better quarterback. Now, I want to preface this by saying, if he's healthy.
Right, because at the time of this podcast, and we always try to be completely transparent with everybody, this is Tuesday at noon.
Yeah.
We're recording this. The game isn't until Saturday. Questions about Penn State's quarterback at the time of this recording.
Now, if indeed he is not able to play, and you did this, what was this, a week ago?
Yes, with Sam Houston's quarterback.
Right, and we have to do this on Tuesday because we have 2 podcasts. We want to have time to get them all out, et cetera. So I don't think the line is going to move against Penn State. I think it would only move in Penn State's favor. So if you're thinking I'm betting on Penn State, I think you'll be all right. It can only move in your favor. But if he is not going to play, or he hobbles out there like some sort of
like Willis Reed running out of the tunnel to save the season for the Knicks, and he's got one leg, and he's ripping off the warm-up jacket.
Yeah, if he's not healthy and he looks like he can't go or he can't go, are we allowed? We do, right? We just say it. We just say you just abort. You just abort.
It's election season, Rob. Abortion is a big topic right now.
That's right.
And what you're telling me is you're going to wait up until the moment of kickoff and then decide whether or not you're going to have a in-game abortion.
That's right. Yes, whether I'm going to bet or not, because some of the politicians believe, from abortion from conception to live birth, we believe in the abortion of your bet from Tuesday through kickoff.
So who are you on? Let's say the quarterback plays. Reset the whole board here.
Yeah, so this brings me to my third point of this, which is that I think Penn State, and the most important part of this game, has a superior line on both sides of the ball, and ultimately that's where they will win the game. Ohio State has had some injuries on the offensive line, and while their running backs are awesome, they can't run through people. We saw this last week with Nebraska at home. They had a hard time running the ball against Nebraska at home. Penn State has statistically the second best run defense in the nation, a top 30 defense, pass defense in the nation, and Penn State's defensive line is a top 30 in the nation in a couple key categories. The money right now is in Ohio State, but if everybody's healthy, I say give me Penn State taking the 3.5.
It seems like we go through this every year, though, right?
I know.
Like Penn State and Ole Miss, they're the Spider-Man meme. They're looking at each other. Every year they start 6-0, 7-0.
I know.
Look out, this is the year. And they end up not playing a big game on New Year's Day because they end up losing to all the teams that are actually good every single year. But you feel like this year's different.
I know. There's a famous Saturday Night Live skit where I think it's maybe Dana Carvey, somebody who's playing, I believe it's Walter Mondale, after the election where he gets boat raced by Reagan. And they're asking him all these questions about the terrible campaign he's run. And he just keeps going, I know. I know. And it ends with something like, what were you thinking? And he just goes, I don't know. And that's me with Penn State. I know. Everything you're telling me, I know. And then why am I betting on Penn State? I don't know.
One of the great T-shirts of all time is just simple text. It says, Mondale won one more state than you did, mother bleeper. Which is true. Yeah. He won one damn state.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
One more than you did, baby.
That's right. So that is me. I know. I don't know. It's just they got a much better line on both sides of the ball, and they're getting 3.5, and maybe there's a backdoor cover in there for me if they don't win the game outright. So we'll take Penn State 3.5.
All right. So you heard Rob Kendall. He's on the Nittany Lions. A little quarterback issue, but he wants the points at home. He's taking Penn State plus 3.5. Let's find out what our professional thinks. Let's go to the hotline right now and bring on a man that brought us a big win last week, David Stephanoff of followneverfade.com. David, you just heard Rob. He's on Penn State this week with the points. Where are you at?
I'm going to try to stay hot. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Hammer. Hey, Rob, if you watched that game, they were losing to Wisconsin or went for a pick six, Rob. They were not going to win that game. Went for a pick six. They got a lame quarterback. What are you doing, Rob?
I hate myself.
You're on the wrong.
Hate myself. That's what I'm doing. David. I hate myself.
The line says everything you need to know. Vegas making Ohio State 3.5. Now, if this line was 2 or 1, I would favor Penn State. They got you don't know the quarterback situation. On top of that, Ohio State can't afford a loss. They can't afford a loss, and they got Indiana coming up. This is a spot for Ohio State. I think the quarterback play is the key here. They might have a lame quarterback. Strength of schedule, both of them are the same. But I think, Rob, I love Ohio State. I love their offense, regardless. Chip Kelly's going to score some points. And big game James can't coach, guys. Big game James Franklin can't coach the big games. I'm sorry.
I love for the first time this year, Rob is going against David because I've gone against David twice this year. I've won one and I lost one. This is the first time it's Rob and David going head-to-head here.
Well, I like to smack myself in the face. So, thanks for declaring me already 0-1 to start the week, David. I really appreciate you.
I just think the line screams Ohio State. And plus, the quarterback play. But yeah, I'm on Ohio State. Lay the 3.5, guys. That's my play.
Now, if somebody wants to subscribe to your services, David, followneverfade.com. You offer more than just football games, college and NFL. You're starting to dabble a little bit in college basketball, correct?
Yes, sir. Basketball, NBA just started last week. We've been pretty good on NBA basketball, but I made my bread and butter. I made my name. Jason Hammer never called me, messaged me ever for college basketball. That's why I made my name in college basketball. It starts in 6 days. I love Indiana, guys. Everybody, we're all diehard Indiana fans. But real quick, I'm going to tell you guys, Kansas is 10 points better than everybody in the country, everybody. It's not even close. Kansas brings back Hunter Dickinson. He's 40 years old. They bring back the point guard. They bring back the power forward. And if you follow college basketball last year, they bring Big Ten's best player, Solar, from Wisconsin. Kansas is 10 points better than everybody, guys, regardless. But, yeah, college basketball starts soon. You can follow me on all platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I got a college basketball package right now. You sign up for my college basketball NBA package right now. I give you football free for the rest of the year, and my football picks have been NFL have been absolutely on fire this past weekend. We went 5-0. But, hey, college basketball starts in 6 days. NBA is here. I don't really dip into NBA too much till around Christmas time. Because, NBA's injuries. But college basketball is my bread and butter. I love my Hoosiers. They're going to be pretty good this year. Starts in 6 days. But follow me everywhere, like I said, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Message me directly. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Hammer. Have a great week. But no matter what, follow Never Fade, guys.
All right, so Rob and David going head-to-head there on Ohio State at Penn State. I'm going to keep it in the Big Ten here. And, Rob, we've reached that point in the week where it's time to play America's fastest-growing game sensation. Who's going to screw me this week? And we're talking about the Indiana Hoosiers on the road in East Lansing, taking on the Michigan State Spartans.
The music is just the best.
The Hoosiers are 7.5-point favorites now, and that line is going up. Over-under is set at 51. Now, all week long, ever since the lines came out last week, Rob, this has been a 7-point spread.
Yeah.
Just 7. And I felt good about 7. But now we're finding out it sounds like Indiana's quarterback, their starting quarterback, is going to be back in the mix here, and that is causing things to go up. So if you want the Hoosiers at 7.5, this is probably as low as you're going to find it right now. Sweet Jesus, scoop it up now. Now, my concern about this game, and this is why I think I'm going to get screwed, is that this is kind of a letdown spot for Indiana.
Yeah.
It's a team that hasn't had a lot of success. How are they going to handle success? College game day was in Bloomington last week.
That's true.
All eyes were on the Hoosiers. They put on a good show with a backup quarterback, and all week long, campus was rocking and rolling, and everybody's telling them how great they are. And now you've got a road game the very next week before a very big game against Ohio State. So it's kind of a sandwich spot here. So that concerns me. But I also look at Michigan State, and they're kind of in the same boat here. They had a big game against their rival last week. They went to the big house, went toe-to-toe with Big Brother. Fights broke out. People got kicked out. Big Ten's passing out fines. But they lost that game in a very hard-fought physical contest. So because Michigan State's also kind of on the rebound here, if you will, I feel a little bit better about Indiana. I think Sig's going to have these guys ready. And for the first time in a long time, Indiana's the more physical team. Indiana can run the ball better. And it sounds like their starting quarterback, Curtis O'Rourke, will be back behind center. So I am going to take the Indiana Hoosiers. I'm going to lay 7.5, and I'm going to pray to that god-awful statue of John Mellencamp that they put on IU's campus that this number is covered on Saturday. Have you seen that Mellencamp statue?
What's a worse statue, the Mellencamp one or the Dwayne Wade one?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade's is frightening. I mean, it's scary looking. But the Mellencamp statue they put at IU. And again, for those listening out of state, Mellencamp, big donor to IU. Like his name is on buildings and stuff there. Mellencamp's statue looks like a statue of Kevin Nealon.
It does.
It looks just like actor-comedian Kevin Nealon. Doesn't look like John Mellencamp. So I'll be praying to Kevin Nealon's statue that the Hoosiers are in the right state of mind, and they cover 7.5 here. Rob, let's keep it in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
We're rolling here. Oregon on the road at the Big House. Oregon, 14.5-point road favorite at Michigan, over under 45.5.
All right, so last week I got a rare thing, Hammer. I won one I was sure I was going to lose.
Ooh, okay. All right, we'll take that. That's good vibes. We like good vibes around here.
Usually the other way around, like, I don't know, when you're under the under with 20 seconds to go and there's the most obvious face mask in the history of football and the refs don't call it and you get a safety called against you.
You mean somebody screws you too, Rob? America's fastest growing game sensation. Who's going to screw me this week?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But so what happened last week is Oregon and Illinois, I had the under 54.5, and they had like 38 points at halftime, and I was like, well, okay, at least I'll be able to stop watching this by the end of the third quarter. And then everyone stopped scoring, and it led me to a 38-9 final. And my new thing, and Hammer will back me up on this, at the end of every game, I will just start incessantly texting him on how I think I'm going to get screwed. I'll start predicting how I'm going to get screwed. And but we did cash the under 54.5. This week it's a smaller number, but here's the thing. Michigan's defense is okay. Oregon's defense is arguably the best in the country. Take Ohio State out of the equation. They're averaging giving up 9.2 points per game. Michigan's offense stinks. So if we use that as our barometer, and if Michigan gets 10, Oregon could still get 35, and I'd cover. So I'm sure I've underthought this, but I was really pressed for time last night, and this seems logical. I'm going under 45.5.
Under 45.5 in the Big House. All right, another big house, not quite as big as Michigan, but it's in the top 5. Neyland Stadium down in good old Rocky Top.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go to the SEC here. Kentucky at Tennessee. The Vols are a 16.5-point home favorite. 45.5 is the number.
Ooh.
Now, Kentucky slipped to 1-5 in the SEC last week. 3-game losing streak. How these guys beat Ole Miss,
ooh, buddy,
I have no idea. But Kentucky is 124th out of 134 FBS teams in passing output and 121st in scoring offense nationally. Now listen, Tennessee Vols offense has not been very good. It hasn't been. They have not scored in the first half in their last 3 games. That's embarrassing for a Josh Heupel offense. But I love this Tennessee defense. And this is a night game. And this is where Tennessee's going to come out in the all-black uniforms, the all-black helmet with the orange tee, which looks incredibly cool. You're going to hear the crowd get fired up when they do that spooky Rocky Top before the game and on third downs. Oh, injected into my veins, baby. This is a bet for the Tennessee defense and not the Tennessee offense. I don't see Kentucky putting up many points at night in Rocky Top against one of the best defenses in the country. Yeah. So I'm going to lay 16.5. I'm not in love with Tennessee's offense, but Kentucky's offense stinks, and Tennessee's defense is pretty good.
Is there a reason you went against the under? You didn't take the under?
Because if this game does get away from Kentucky, it gets into garbage time. Yeah. And I hate being in garbage time when you've got an under.
All right.
I've got more faith that Tennessee's offense can figure it out than Kentucky's offense can figure it out. So we're going to lay 16.5 down in Rocky Top. All right, going to take a little bit of a break here. When we come back, we're going to get a little patriotic on your ass. Army, Air Force, we've got action. We are the Degenerates Next Door. Back on the Degenerates Next Door, I'm Jason Hammer. Rob Kendall is here. And Rob, special shout out to our friends at Barrett Media.
Yeah, our friend Garrett Seawright, he did a cool article on our podcast. And thanks to all you, the listeners, it's becoming popular enough that Barrett was like, hey, these guys are pretty good. People like this show. We should do an article on them.
And looking at some of the analytics of this show, we've got listeners in 40 states.
Hey.
That's awesome. So God bless you guys. Welcome to the big gambling degenerate community here, right? The people that are not afraid to drink whiskey at work. The people that aren't afraid to say something inappropriate. And the people that aren't afraid to be a little patriotic. And that brings us to Army against Air Force, baby. Army is a 22.5-point favorite. You can find that number on FanDuel. It's 23.5. I think it's some other spots, Rob. So I feel like if you want that number, you got to strike quickly. Over under a set at 40.5.
All right. I love this because I think we're in on the same game, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to see the difference in the show. We talked with Garrett about this. We're both winners, but we go about this very differently. Hammer knows every number. He knows every player. He knows every statistic. He will tell you everything about everything. And I'm just like, I looked at 2 websites, and this is kind of what my gut tells me. So are you ready for 2 websites and what my gut told me?
Let's go.
All right. Army is a better team than Navy statistically. And Navy smoked these dudes by 27.
Yes.
Army scored 42, 49, 44, and 45 in their last 4 games. Take away a fluke performance against New Mexico, and Air Force has scored 19, 7, and 13. Army's given up 10, 7, and 14 in 3 of their last 4. A 45-21 win gets me there. A 42-17 game gets me there. 22.5 is a lot, but I think Army can get it done. And you know they're going to run the score up on these dudes because there's another military academy. So I'm in on Army covering 22.5.
Listen, you did your homework there. You looked at strength of schedule. You looked at opponents. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm going to pull the Rob Kendall here. I've watched Air Force, and they're not any good. They've lost 6 straight games after a season-opening win over FCS Merrimack.
Ooh, yikes.
And Army, one of 8 undefeated FBS teams. I mean, in theory, if they beat Notre Dame later in the year and they keep rolling, you're talking college football playoff for Army. And as we said last week, we talked about this with Miami taking on Florida. Sometimes You just have to absolutely beat the dog piss out of your rival.
Yeah.
And I think that happens here. All late 22.5, along with Rob with Army. All right, Wisconsin on the road at Iowa. It feels like you have an Iowa play every week, Rob. Iowa is a 3-point home favorite, and the over-under, big number for an Iowa game, 40.5.
You and I have talked about this a lot, and here's, by the way, I'm disappointed you didn't claim the Army game hinged on who the backup quarterback was for Army, and you would be able to tell me that guy's
I wanted you to have your moment. You did the homework.
Height, weight, everything. The reason, one of the things I think I'm better at the NFL, or you have one more games at the NFL, is there's fewer teams to follow. And as a new dad or a younger dad, right, like I just don't get to watch as much college football as I want to. And there's so many games. Like there's so many games to pick from. You like this.
Yes.
I don't. I get overwhelmed. It's like so many games I just start staring at
And
it.
my kids are older.
Yeah.
Right? I got a 20-year-old. I got a 16-year-old. I can completely ignore my family. I can ignore my kids. I can ignore my wife. And we're at that stage of our marriage, 22 years in. I think she's in favor of that.
I will find myself staring at my computer screen for 20 minutes without blinking, and I'll hear from my wife, "What are you staring at? What's her name?" Her name's Iowa, and I can't decide if they can win this stinking game by 3 points or not. So you asked me about, you have a thing with Iowa. I just start kind of picking some of the same teams because I see them play enough that I feel like I kind of know a little bit about them. So, all right, not a lot of wiggle room here with 40.5, but you're right, it is kind of a big number for Iowa. Here's my thinking. Wisconsin D, very good. They've given up 6, 7, and 3 in their lead up to Penn State a week ago. Iowa D, also very good. They've given up 14, 16, and 7 in 3 of their last 4. There's not a lot of room for error here. The spread was Iowa 3.5. I think it went down. I think some money came in on Wisconsin. And that's a little rich for me because I don't trust Iowa totally. I saw them get smoked by Michigan State, who hopefully for you stinks, but that was a good game they played against Iowa. Anyway, I think we can see like a 2017 type of game here. And last time I checked, public school math, 20 and 17 is 37. That's less than 40.5. I'm going under.
The under.
Going under.
Ride that under, baby. Let me go back down to the SEC for a moment. Vanderbilt at Auburn. This is an interesting game. So Auburn is a 7-point home favorite, over under 48.5. In years past, this was an automatic play, right? Well, at least you would think. If you haven't followed these teams historically, they've had some damn good games. The series is actually pretty close between these two, Vanderbilt and Auburn. And that's with Auburn being fairly good most of my adult life and Vanderbilt being, well, Vanderbilt. But this year, Auburn, they're 0-3 against Power 5 teams at home. Down on the plain at Jordan-Hare Stadium, they're 0-3 against Power 5 teams. And this is a Vanderbilt squad that's already beaten Alabama. And let's not kid ourselves. They gave Texas everything they wanted and more. Now, would anybody be shocked if Vandy laid a big egg here? I don't think they would. But I've always had a saying, and Rob, you've known me for a long time. If all things are equal here, and I think these teams are actually more equal than we think. Auburn's got a better running game, a better offensive line, but Vandy's got a better quarterback, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Auburn's quarterback stinks, and Vanderbilt, Diego Pava, this dude is keeping them in games and winning games single-handedly. So you're telling me the better quarterback is catching a touchdown?
Oh.
I want to scoop those points up, baby. Bad Auburn offense, good Vanderbilt quarterback. We don't need him to win. We just need him to hang around. Give me the commode doors, as a volunteer fan would say, the Vanderbilt commode doors, +7. Now, for those who don't know, the term commode, it's a French term originally. Right. And it was later used to describe like a water chamber pot where people would go drop a deuce in.
Yeah.
And then later came like a wooden chair. So in essence, it's a fancy early stage French toilet. That's what a commode is. And for so long, that's what Vanderbilt football has been. The commode doors. They weren't the Commodores. They were the commode doors.
Your mind's an amazing thing. Just fascinates me.
What's your favorite nickname for a bathroom? Because I could come at you with can.
Yeah.
I could come at you with the John.
Yeah.
Latrine.
Stink chamber.
Stink chamber, the potty, I
Yeah.
guess if you're a kid.
Yeah.
The porcelain god.
The can. It's probably can, right? I think that's one I use the most.
The can. Yeah. The John needs to make a comeback.
It does.
I'm going to go hit the John.
Wasn't John, was Crapper, John Crapper, was that a real person, or am I imagining that? Is that the guy that actually invented the toilet?
I have no idea, but I want that to be true.
Let me look that up here.
I
Any more
want that
picks,
to
or is
be
it my
true
turn?
so bad.
Look this up here real quick.
Latrine, crapper, the lavatory.
All right, this is on a work computer. Am I allowed to put did Crapper invent the toilet on a
Yes,
work computer?
please.
Did Crapper invent? Oh, it pulls up in the Google search. Did John Crapper? No, Thomas Crapper did not invent the toilet.
So he's not John Crapper.
Here's what AI tells me. Now, AI wouldn't lie to me, would it?
I wouldn't think so.
It says, no, Thomas Crapper did not invent the toilet, but he is credited with popularizing it and making it a global success.
So your team, the can, I want to bring back the John. We can do that. All right, let's take a break. I'm going to go hit the John, and when we come back, we got a couple more plays for you. We're going to get nuts. We got a Degenerate Special. Do not go anywhere. The good stuff's coming up. We are the Degenerates next door. Having a good time with you guys today. This has been a fun show. All right, UCLA at Nebraska. The Huskers, 6.5-point home favorite, over under 41.5. Rob Kendall, are you willing to put your hard-earned money on Temu Mahomes at home?
Did you know, Hammer, fun fact, that if you put the word Nebraskas, plural, into your Word document, that it will show up with a red line under it, that is not indeed a word?
I think I knew that, yes. Misspelled words show up with a red line.
Well, I didn't know they would count that as a registered misspelled word, because, I mean, it is a word just with an S at the end of it, because I want there to be two Nebraskas. Because my sentence was, there are two Nebraskas, but that doesn't count in the Microsoft Word document.
You've already bored me.
Well, anyway, let me get to it. So it all depends. It all depends on which Nebraska you're going to get. Good Nebraska, you almost beat Ohio State. You crush Colorado. Bad Nebraska, you get beat by 1,000,000 by Indiana and beat at home by Illinois. But here's the real story, Hammer, and why I'm doing this. You have actually inspired me to do this.
Oh.
Which is to keep betting against someone or on them or something with them until you get it right.
You can't walk away a failure.
This was you with Minnesota earlier this year.
Yes, Minnesota would screw me every week. Stupid vest-wearing row-your-boat guy would beat me every week. But did I give up? Hell no. I went back to the well, and they beat USC, and we had that on the money line, and we won some bucks.
That's right. And so that inspired me with the Colts. I kept losing with the Colts. Now I win all the time with the Colts. I kept going at it. And this is me with UCLA. I have lost every single UCLA bet this year. With them, they lose. Against them, they win. I did this with the Colts, like I said. Now I'm doing it with UCLA. I'm going to keep picking your team until I get it right. So here's what I know. Teams traveling 2 time zones or more suck big time in the Big Ten. They've only won a handful of games this year. Of course, one of those was UCLA at Rutgers, and I took Rutgers. But I'm not giving up. Nebraska's defense isn't bad when they're not playing IU. I think they'll force some turnovers and long fields. Come on, low rent on Mahomes. I'm laying 6.5 from Nebraska.
Oh, you're going to be Larry the Cable Guy rooting for the Huskers this weekend. Does he still have a suite up in that stadium? Because I know he's a big Husker guy, and he had a suite in there for a long time.
Isn't he one of those guys who you're amazed when you find out that that's just a character? Like he doesn't really sound like that, and he's not actually a cable guy?
Do yourself a favor and go on YouTube and look up the roast of Larry the Cable Guy and Greg Giraldo. The late, great Greg Giraldo. The things he was saying about Larry the Cable Guy. And like he wraps it up with the end. Oh my God, why are you so popular? Like other comedians they hate the fact that he's like a billionaire 1,000,000 times over, and they did not get that level of success.
The first time I heard that dude really talk, and I mean, I just felt like a freaking idiot.
Like Dan Whitney or something like that is his real name.
I was like, wait, he doesn't really sound like that? Like he's not some hillbilly redneck?
Gilbert Gottfried was the same way.
Yeah.
Like that world famous Stern voicemail that got out. Hi, Howard, this is Gilbert. That's a far cry from, hi, Howard, this is Gilbert. And you're right. Dan Whitney sounds completely different than Larry the Cable Guy. All right, we have talked about a lot of games that, let's be honest, people want to watch.
Yeah.
Right? You know, big-time matchups, and
Absolutely.
big-time conferences.
Totally.
Patriotic games. But now it's time to focus on another game.
Oh.
A game that nobody wants to watch. But Las Vegas cares enough to put a point spread on it, and the money you can win on this game spends the same as the Penn State, Ohio State money. We call it the Degenerate Special.
It's time for Hammer's Degenerate Special.
And if you're not doing the MAC, are you really even doing the Degenerate Special? Toledo at Eastern Michigan. Now, we've won on Toledo this year. Toledo, 8.5-point road favorite in Ypsilanti, Michigan, taking on Eastern Michigan. The over-under, 53.5. Now, earlier in the year, Toledo was an ATM. They were the best team in the MAC, but they have fallen on some hard times here. Their quarterback, Tucker Gleason, has got a little interception problem.
What's his name? Tucker Gleason?
Tucker Gleason. 6 picks in the last couple of weeks, which have kind of knocked Toledo out of the ranks of teams to beat in the MAC. Okay? And Toledo's defense, they've been giving up big numbers as well. Meanwhile, Eastern Michigan, preseason, they were garbage. They were not expected to do anything. But they're 3-1 at home this season. 9 of their last 11, if you go back a couple years. And they've had success through the air. Their quarterback had 260 yards passing and is in a stretch with 7 touchdowns and only 2 picks. And here's the thing. This is what put me over the top. Eastern Michigan can clinch a bowl spot with a home win this week. And traditionally, Rob, I have always loved home teams with a chance to become bowl eligible. And I'm getting 8.5 here. Let's go!
Woo!
Eastern Michigan at home with a chance to clinch a bowl. Ain't no party like a Ypsilanti party. Give me 8.5 here. That is your Degenerate Special. Now, if that doesn't wet your whistle, I've got a question for you, Rob Kendall.
Yeah.
Are you ready to get nuts?
All right, want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts! Lights out. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts, baby. What are we doing?
All right, so for those of you who are new to the show, every week I take something that has almost no chance of happening. I go deep into my own imagination, and I say, but what if it did?
You talk yourself into it.
And you can bet on this.
And you've won one of these earlier in the year.
Yeah, we did win one of these earlier this year.
And the payout on these things, like these Let's Get Nuts, if you win just 1 or 2, you're set for a while because the payouts are big.
Yeah, I mean, you get into it knowing what you're getting into, which is your odds are very slim. But when you win, it's worth all the losses.
Somebody wins the lottery.
That's right. All right. So what we're calling this Let's Get Nuts is it's an every Sunday NFL money line favorite parlay Let's Get Nuts.
Oh, okay. So we're going away from college football and we're talking about the National Football League.
Right. So Hammer, let me ask you this question. Close your eyes for me.
All right.
What if on one afternoon the board just happened to fall the way Vegas predicted and in every single game the favorite won?
That's wild. That rarely happens. But what if it did, Rob?
Let me tell you what it would look like if it did. That means you would need to bet money line now just to win the game on the following teams.
Just money line.
Yep, no spread. The Titans, the Saints, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Eagles, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Vikings.
All Vegas favorites.
If you were to put them all together, you would get, and look at this number, plus 12493.
Oh, it's a lot of numbers.
And what that means is a $5 bet would pay you out $624.68. Hammer, let me ask this question. Are you ready to get nuts with the Titans, Saints, Ravens, Bengals, Chargers, Falcons, Cardinals, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, and Vikings on money line?
All right, want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts! Lights out. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
A sucker is born every minute. Parlay bets are sucker bets. And if you've got 2 eyes, You're looking at a sucker right here, baby. I'm in. You sweet son of a bitch, I'm in. All right, let's recap the board here. I am on the Hoosiers, -7.5 at Michigan State. Get that number quickly. Tennessee, -16.5. This is a fade of the Kentucky offense. Army, -22.5. Vandy, +7. And the Degenerate Special, Eastern Michigan, +8.5.
I am probably going to smack myself right between the eyes at about 3:30 on Saturday. But for right now, I am on Penn State, getting 3.5 against Ohio State. Keep in mind, if the quarterback for Penn State is out, you abort that. You
cash your ticket and just find another game.
Yeah, right. Army, -22.5 against Air Force. Wisconsin taking on Iowa. I'm under 40.5. Oregon's at Michigan. I'm under 45.5. And last but certainly not least, I will keep betting on a UCLA game until I win one. I'm with Nebraska, laying 6.5 at home against UCLA.
Those are our plays. Let us know what you think. You can find this podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Look for Degenerates Next Door on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We like to interact with you guys. For Rob Kendall, for David Stephanoff of followneverfade.com, I'm Jason Hammer, and as always, may the odds be ever in your favor.